Dodging and burning can be a great way to enhance your image and make it look more interesting. So you can either use the dodge and burn tools right here, but then you need a combined version of all the layers. Control-Shift-C and Control-Shift-V to paste the merged copy. And this is when you can use those dodge and burn tools directly on your image. But this is a destructive technique, so it's not really recommended. I recommend a slightly different approach. I recommend using the brush tool and painting either white color or black color in an empty layer on top of the layer stack. Okay, so let's reduce the opacity a bit. Let's paint in some whites. And once you're happy with them, you can change the blending mode either to soft light or overlay, whichever works better. And for example, let's try overlay, but reduce the opacity a bit. So you can directly paint on those brightened areas without destructive editing. You can just turn it off or make it weaker whenever you want. So for example, I want to make this weaker. I just draw either a gray color over it or just delete it with lowered opacity. So for burning, which would be darkening the image, you can either use the burn tool if you only have a single layer, or you can paint on with a black brush. Okay, so I'll change that color to black. And change the blending mode to multiply and reduce the opacity. And this sort of works on the whole color range at the same time. If you want to mask it, you can also mask it by creating a black and white copy of the image, like so, and using it as the mask for this dodging and burning. So for example, if you want to affect only the shadows, your mask would probably look something like this, where the shadows are bright and the highlights are dark. So brighten up those shadows, darken the highlights. Okay, so that's your custom mask. And you can use it whenever you want to affect the shadows only. As you can see, the adjustment affects only the shadows. You can use the same technique for dodging as well. So this way it only affects the highlights. If you boost the contrast, you can define the highlights better. Okay, it's probably helpful to look at the mask while you adjust it. Okay, so maybe something like this. And now when you paint that white color, it only affects the highlights. Just make sure you're painting on the canvas and not on the mask, which I accidentally did a couple of times. Okay, so paint on the canvas. So that's an easy non-destructive way you can use to dodge and burn either shadows or highlights. You have these options right here in this tool, which is destructive tool, and using my method you can use the same approach but non-destructively. Okay, so if you want to use a slightly more controlled approach, you can use masks. For example, let's adjust the brightness of of this building right here. So select it, hide that layer, and let's say we want to deselect this part, we don't need it, and we want to deselect the part on the right here. We want to adjust only this part. So in an empty layer you would use a gradient, and then you can either set it to multiply, to darken the top, and adjust the opacity, or you can set it to overlay or soft light, to brighten the bottom part instead. Well, this sort of gives us a slightly different effect. A screen would brighten the bottom part, but overlay sort of makes the darks darker, brights brighter, and so on. And it's a nice way to add some more interest to those flat, boring areas like this wooden wall right here. And you should probably do it not just for this wall, but for other walls as well. For example, let's select this region here, select color range, and now I would deselect this left part, create a new layer, and create a gradient here as well. So something like that. Maybe try multiplying and reduce it. And this way you can make this flat, boring building look a bit more interesting. Okay, and one more technique you can use is also using a combination of material ID pass and this dodging and burning. And basically you select the color range in the material ID pass. Let's say only the leaves of the trees, and you create a new layer and create a mask, and it will automatically mask the selection, so whatever you paint is only going to be visible in those masked areas. So now you can dodge or burn selectively only the tree leaves. So just paint this white color, swap it to soft light or overlay, and this way I can give some more 3D look to the trees by enhancing their highlights and shadows. Okay, let's duplicate the layer, change it to multiply, and paint with some blacks. And you can see how powerful this technique is for making specific dodging and burning on particular objects you want to adjust. Okay, so those are some advanced dodging and burning techniques I like to use in my workflow.